Right, just bear with us 1 second. Okay, live stream is rolling at this time. Will all sergeants please start recordings? Recording to the PC underway.
Recording to the cloud is running.
Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome to today's remote New York City Council hearing for the preliminary budget 2023 for the Committee on Small Business. At this time, would all panelists please turn on their video for verification purposes, and to minimize disruptions while speaking, please place all electronic devices to vibrate or silent mode. If you'd like to submit testimony, please send via email to testimony@council.nyc.gov. Again, that is testimony@council.nyc.gov. You have 72 hours to submit testimony. Thank you for your cooperation. Chair Menon, we are ready to begin.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's remote budget hearing. My name is Julie Menon, and I'm the chair of the Council's Committee on Small Business. Today, we'll be hearing from the Department of Small Business Services on their fiscal 2023 preliminary budget. The COVID-19 pandemic has had a devastating impact on New York City's small businesses, with thousands of small businesses all across the city shutting down. And many small businesses have experienced a sharp decline in revenue. Most have exhausted available government assistance, and many continue to struggle to keep their doors open. I strongly believe that small businesses are the backbone of the economy and what makes New York City's neighborhoods unique and vibrant. They need the city's continued support and assistance to get back on their feet. As such, I want to hear from the agency how this preliminary budget is responding to the needs of our small business community and how resources will be utilized for recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. The fiscal 2023 preliminary budget for SBS totals $178.6 million, with $28.3 million, or 15.8% to be exact, proposed for personal services, otherwise known as PS, to support 294 full-time employees. Of the total budget of the agency, $108.9 million, or 60.9%, supports the department, and the remaining $69.6 million is pass-through funding for the Economic Development Corporation and NYC & Co. The department's fiscal 2023 preliminary budget is decreasing by $219.1 million. I'm going to repeat that, $219.1 million across all program areas when compared to the fiscal 2022 adopted budget. This overall decrease is driven by a range of factors, including the absence of one-time City Council discretionary funding and efficiency savings. The most significant decrease is due to the elimination of the American Rescue Plan Act federal funding of $103.7 million for the small business grant program that the agency had executed for the COVID-19 assistance for small businesses. The fiscal 2023 preliminary plan also does not include the $30 million American Rescue Plan Act federal funding for the Small Business Loan Fund program. Federal funds comprise 29% of SBS's fiscal 2023 budget. In contrast, the fiscal 2022 adopted budget was largely funded by federal funds at 64.6%. The administration was aware that the additional federal funding was a one-shot funding for pandemic relief. So my main question in this hearing, quite honestly, is why did the agency not set aside more city funding for small businesses in the fiscal 2023 preliminary plan to make up for the reduction in federal funding? As far as SBS's preliminary budget, I want to know what the agency's long-term plan is for helping small businesses recover from the economic devastation caused by the pandemic. At a time when small businesses need crucial help in recovering, I'm disappointed to see the agency apply the Program to Eliminate Gap, otherwise of course known as a PEG, which reduces funding for the agency programs such as construction safety, CUNY's two-time tech, and many other important programs. Will the PEGs lead lead to reduction in services and deliverables by the agency. There was a decrease of 29 positions for SBS in the fiscal 2023 preliminary budget when compared to the fiscal 2022 adopted budget. The majority of positions that were eliminated when they became vacant. Does the agency believe the right step is to eliminate the vacancies? Small businesses in the city are in dire need of assistance, and a reduction in headcount could impact the range and size of assistance provided. It's the council's responsibility, of course, to ensure that the city's budget is fair, that it's transparent, that it's accountable to all New Yorkers. This includes equity in funding and assistance. As I recently wrote in an op-ed in the Daily News, the agency should ensure that all existing business improvement districts, or BIDs, receive comparable city support. Parity and equity in city support will ensure that all commercial corridors are clean, safe, and vibrant, and that businesses in all neighborhoods are thriving. I'm very appreciative of the mayor for including my idea in calling for increased funding for smaller BIDs in the outer boroughs in particular in the unveiling of the blueprint for New York City's economic recovery. As the chair of the Committee of Small Business, I will continue to push for accountability and accuracy and ensure that the budget reflects the needs and interests of the city. This hearing is a vital part of the process, and I expect that SBS will be responsive to the questions and concerns of the council members here today. I look forward to an active engagement with the administration over the next few months to ensure that the fiscal 2023 adopted budget meets the goals that the council has set out. I first of all want to thank Commissioner Kim for testifying today. I also want to thank SBS's staff who have been consistently responsive to our requests. We would not be able to analyze the city's budget at such a detailed level without their cooperation, so thank you to them. And I want to thank both my staff and the staff at the council for their incredible work, both in the finance and legislative divisions, and for all their help in preparing for this hearing today. I also want to acknowledge my colleagues who are on. I know we are joined by Council Members Ung, Councilmember Velasquez, Councilmember Caban, Councilmember Mealy, and I know we'll be joined by additional colleagues, and I'll announce them as they join. I'm now going to turn it over to the council for some procedural items to go over. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Stephanie Jones, and I am counsel to the Committee on Small Business. Before we begin, I want to remind everyone that you will be on mute until you are recognized to speak, at which time you will be unmuted by the host. If you mute yourself after you have been unmuted, you will need to be unmuted again by the host. Please be aware that there could be a delay in muting and unmuting, so please be patient. During the hearing, if council members would like to ask questions, please use the Zoom raise hand function and you will be called on to speak. We will be limiting council member questions to 5 minutes, including responses. I will now administer the affirmation to the administration witnesses, including those available for Q&A. Do you affirm that your testimony will be truthful to the best of your knowledge, information, and belief? Commissioner Kim.
I do.
Thank you, Commissioner. First Deputy Commissioner Mallon.
I do.
Thank you. Deputy Commissioner for Business Services, Kitty Chan.
I do.
Deputy Commissioner for Neighborhood Development, Blaise Backer.
I do.
Thank you. Deputy Commissioner for Economic and Financial Opportunity, Dinah Shaw Gross.
I do.
Thank you. Deputy Commissioner for Workforce Development, Lucinda Glover. Okay, I'll circle back to you, Commissioner. Deputy Commissioner for Legal and Regulatory Affairs, Andrew Schwartz.
I do.
Okay, Deputy Commissioner Glover, do you have audio?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I do.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Commissioner Kim, you may begin when you are ready.
Thank you. Okay. Good afternoon, Chair Menon and members of the Committee on Small Business. My name is Kevin D. Kim, and I am the Commissioner of the New York City Department of Small Business Services, or SBS. I am joined by SBS First Deputy Commissioner Jackie Mallon and members of my senior leadership team. I am pleased to testify today on SBS's fiscal year 2023 preliminary budget. At SBS, through the work of our 4 divisions, we aim to unlock economic potential and create economic security for all New Yorkers by connecting them to good jobs, creating stronger businesses, and building vibrant neighborhoods across the 5 boroughs. Our division of economic and financial opportunity is focused on helping the city's MWBEs connect to more government contracting opportunities. Our division of business services helps businesses of every size and sector start, operate, and grow in New York City. Our neighborhood development division equips community-based partners, including business improvement districts or BIDs, with the resources needed to help our commercial corridors thrive. And last but not least, our workforce development division works to increase access to quality trainings and jobs for all New Yorkers. SBS's fiscal year 2023 preliminary budget is $178.5 million with a headcount of 294 employees. Our budget includes $85.9 million in pass-through funding to other city entities, including the New York City Economic Development Corporation, or EDC, NYC and Company, and Governor's Island. We serve as a conduit for funding to these other city entities and thus do not spend or manage any of these funds. The remaining $92.6 million, or 51.9% of the fiscal year 23 preliminary budget, is allocated for SBS's own programs and services. But before we talk about fiscal year 23 and the future, I would like to ask you to take a moment to recall the onset of the pandemic when so much was unknown. Estimates of the potential impact to businesses and workers varied widely, ranging from incidental to catastrophic and changing daily. Under these unprecedented circumstances, SBS staff worked tirelessly to rapidly deploy resources to all those who relied on us: small businesses, job seekers, community partners, and anyone who called our newly created hotline. Among the things the team at SBS accomplished are having delivered approximately 10,000 grants of $10,000 each to small businesses via the Small Business Resilience Grant Program, expanded the Commercial Lease Assistance Program, which served close to 300 businesses in the first half of fiscal year 22, developed and launched new training programs like Future Code, a web development program designed to address the unique challenges of underrepresented tech pros, including Black and Latinx New Yorkers. Partnered with over 1,600 employers to connect more than 33,000 New Yorkers to new jobs. Significantly upgraded the MWBE online directory so that customers could more easily connect to our MWBE businesses. Delivered nearly 4,000 instances of technical assistance to MWBE businesses seeking government contracting opportunities. Provided more than $5.8 million in grants to 75 CBDOs working in LMI communities via programs like Avenue NYC and Open Streets grants. And worked with the 76 BIDs to address quality of life challenges and help them to invest $167 million in supplemental services to serve more than 93,000 businesses. I am personally in awe of the high level of service the staff at SBS provided during the pandemic. It is truly an honor to call them my colleagues today. Looking forward, SBS's work in fiscal year 23 will be shaped by our commitment to equity and greater opportunity for all. We will focus on the people who need our help the most and who have received the least. We will promote equity and economic opportunity at every turn. We will work in close partnership with private industry, philanthropy, labor, community-based organizations, elected officials, and other city agencies to achieve our goals. Last week, Mayor Adams announced several of our top priorities for fiscal year 23 in his economic blueprint. For example, we will expand our concierge service that provides businesses a sole point of contact to help navigate city requirements, regulations, and site visits. co-lead the implementation of the Executive Order Number 2, also known as Small Business Forward, in partnership with Deputy Mayor Maria Torres Springer and the city's Chief Efficiency Officer, Melanie LaRocca. Together, we will reform existing business regulations to ensure businesses face fewer fines and penalties. We will partner with Chief Technology Officer Matt Frazier to improve the NYC Business Portal, allowing every business in New York City to execute and track interactions with the city in real time. We will suspend NYC fees on liquor licenses for 2 years and streamline the liquor license application process locally. Expand access to business education and resources in languages other than English, and work closely with community groups that support immigrant entrepreneurs to align our services with community needs. Launch the Small Business Opportunity Loan Fund to meet the financing needs of local businesses and address critical gaps in access to capital, especially among LMI, immigrant, and BIPOC entrepreneurs. Expand our pilot program that offers Midas stipends to low-income and traditionally underserved participants in select occupational training. Partner with employers in the tech sector to meet their growing workforce needs with local diverse talent. Upskill New Yorkers for in-demand roles in the healthcare sector, including via our nurse residency program and our programs that help foreign trained nurses achieve New York State credentials. Provide long-term annual funding to the smallest bids, defined as under $500,000, so that they can offer more robust services, improve merchant outreach, and better connect businesses to city services. And finally, bring financial empowerment mobile units to neighborhoods across the 5 boroughs, offering on-site assistance, including free tax prep, financial counseling, and job training enrollment. At SBS, we are committed to fulfilling Mayor Adams' clear and bold agenda to ensure the future of the city's economy is built on equity and inclusivity. We know that working closely with the City Council is critical to achieving this shared goal. Together, we can rebuild, renew, and reinvent NYC. I look forward to our continued partnership and thank you for your time today. I welcome any questions you may have for me or my team.
Great, thank you very much, Commissioner. And I also want to acknowledge that we've been joined by Majority Whip Brooks Powers. And I'm going to start with some questions and then turn it over to my colleagues for questions as well. So I guess the first question, Commissioner, that I have is the one that I made in the opening statement, which is obviously the administration was aware that there was going to be a one-shot federal funding. So I guess, why didn't the city make the decision to increase additional funding to SBS, given the fact that this federal funding has now dissipated? And obviously, this was not a surprise. We knew this was going to happen. So could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Thank you, Chair Menon, for the question. As you know, during the pandemic, the federal government stepped in to provide much needed funding for various programs. And some of that funding has gone to programs that have now been completed. In other cases, we know that the need is still great. And I think from the economic blueprint that was announced just last week, we are doing everything we can to address the continuing needs of the small business owners.
Okay, so how specifically does the administration plan to make up for this loss of funding? How will we ensure that small businesses are still being served by the city and protected? Could you talk, or have the members of your team talk a little bit about that?
I think when the mayor came into office, he had committed to right-sizing every agency. And I believe that with the dedicated staff that we do have at SBS, that all of the initiatives we've set forth and all of the programs that we've been currently running are in good positions to be run effectively in fiscal year 2023 with the budget that's set forth right now, and hopefully with the additional funding that may come through all the initiatives that we've been proposing.
Okay, so I guess I just want to make the comment on that. I thought the blueprint was terrific. I was there at the announcement. I think it's really important to have that. I'm very interested in the specifics on any kind of additional funding for SBS because I remain incredibly concerned, first of all, that there's a peg for an agency that is helping our city's small businesses. Secondly, that we lost this federal funding. So I can't emphasize this strongly enough. I believe that this funding needs to be made up in many different ways, and whether it's through these additional programs that the mayor announced or otherwise, we really look forward to hearing the details on that.
Sure, and we'd love to share all that information as soon as we have the exact numbers. We're working through everything. As you know, the economic blueprint was just announced late last week. And as soon as we have those numbers, we'll be happy to share it with you. But I will say that this administration is laser focused on helping small businesses in all the various ways they need assistance. Access to capital with the announcement of the Small Business Opportunity Fund, the assistance of the Commercial Lease Assistance Program that will be continuing in fiscal year 23. We also have the executive order that's designed to help help small businesses save money through reduced fines and implementation of more cure periods and warnings. So I think there are various ways to help small businesses that will be clearly in everything that the administration has said so far and everything that the administration is going to do going forward.
Okay, and now a question on headcount. There was a decrease of 29 positions for SBS that was reflected in the 2023 prelim when compared to the fiscal 2022 adopted budget. The majority of the positions, as I mentioned in my opening statement, are related to vacancy reductions. Has the agency determined in which program areas the vacancies will be eliminated, and how is that going to impact the agency's operations in terms of helping our city's small businesses?
So just to clarify, of the 29 vacancy reductions, 17 are personnel from the city side, and then the other 12 were funded positions that have expired. And so those were mainly for programs that have either been completed or near completion. And so with the reduction of the 17, I am personally taking a very close look at our agency structure and looking for efficiencies and redundancies as well. But we are confident that with the dedicated staff that we have, the experience that we have, the talent that we have, that we'll be able to do all the programs that we have been continuing to do and all the initiatives that we've been announcing that we will be doing going forward.
I just want to shift gears for a minute and talk a little bit about MWBEs. How many MWBEs were certified at the end of fiscal 2021?
So for that, I'll turn to my first deputy commissioner. But before I do that, I know that currently in fiscal year 2022, we have 670 certified MWBEs, and we've also recertified approximately 750 MWBEs, but for 2021 fiscal year, First Deputy Commissioner Mallon, would you happen to have that answer?
I think it's 10,665, but Dinah Shaw, if I am wrong, nope, I got it right. 10,665.
And what efforts does SBS have to try to increase that number? How are we going to get that number up? What additional efforts are going to be made?
So this obviously is a priority for our administration to outreach to minority and women-owned businesses. And we are going aggressively into the communities to meet people where they are. One of the things that we already launched last week was the mobile units. And in partnership with DCWP, we're going to where the people are. And we're going to go into the neighborhoods, deep into the neighborhoods, to work with not just individuals and businesses to bring our services to them. And one of the ways is to outreach to the local businesses where the mobile unit will be parked and getting them into our mobile units to get signed up for MWBE certification or to learn more about it. And so we understand that language access is a critical component of this as well. And we have in the initiative, an initiative to get more language capabilities and language access out into the community to let people know about our MWBE programs.
And can you talk a little bit about how the agency performed in reaching the MWBE targets that it has set, and what measures is agency taking to connect MWBE firms with emerging contracting opportunities?
Sure. So thank you for that question. The MWBE online directory that I had mentioned in my testimony is something that was very important to upgrade and improve the system so that New York City agencies and customers could more easily find our MWBE businesses. So I think one of the things that we're also very much focused on is not just getting more and more MWBE certified, but making sure that the MWBEs that are certified are actually getting a higher percentage of contracts. And then, and related to that, we're also wanting to take that even a step further to making sure that not just the percentage of awards increase, but the actual dollar amounts are also increased. So I think through the MWBE online directory, through our outreach programs, we have been on track. I know, for example, the city's ahead of schedule in moving toward achieving the One NYC goal of $25 billion in MWBE awards by mayoral and non-mayoral agencies by fiscal year 25. So we feel as if even during the pandemic, we've continued to progress towards goals that we've set further down the road.
Okay, if you can share with our committee details about that, because I do remain concerned that we need to do far more as a city on MWBEs. I just think this is the tip of the iceberg, and we have a lot of work that we need to do ahead. So I'd love to drill down on specific details about the numbers, the targets, all of that, so we can see how we can increase that. I have one more question. Well, I have many more questions, but I'm going to ask one more, and then I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues. So last question before I turn it to my colleagues is on Workforce One centers. Can you tell us, first of all, where are we in terms of metrics on the workforce centers? And if you can also tell the committee about candidate recruitment and screening and deliverables.
Sure. So it is true that during the pandemic, the one metric in the MMR that we won't be able to hit is the workforce development numbers. Just because of the pandemic, we had increased number of people being able to access it. We did pivot immediately to a virtual training and an accessibility program, and that was quite successful given the circumstances. In terms of more specific numbers, I'll turn it over to my first deputy, Jackie Mallon, to just provide a few more of the numbers now. And we can also follow up with additional numbers for you.
Sure. If you saw that PMMR, you'll see that we did a little bit better in the quarter this year that against last year's quarter, about 5,200 or so folks into jobs. Our goal is and has been to reach about 25,000, and we will not have enough time to make up for what we lost during the pandemic to meet that this year. It'll probably come in again as it did last year, around 18,000 or so. But we are back fully operational, and people are able to access us on site if they prefer that. We also are continuing to offer services virtually, which many prefer. And so we feel like we are in good shape to rebuild and get back up to that number.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to now turn it over to Stephanie Jones, our committee counsel, to call on my colleagues to see if they have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. If any council members have questions for the administration, please use the Zoom raise hand function and you will be added to the queue. Council members, please keep your questions to 5 minutes, which includes the time it takes the administration to respond. Please wait for the Sergeant at Arms to tell you when your time begins. The Sergeant will let you know when your time is up. Chair, I see Majority Whip Brooks Powers would like to ask a question. Please proceed.
Time starts.
Hi, good afternoon. Can you hear me? Only because I've been having technical troubles today. Okay.
Now we can.
You're a little choppy, but you're good now.
Thank you. Wonderful digital divide in Rockaway. But thank you and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Chair Menon, for facilitating today's prelim hearing so that we can discuss how this council and the mayor's administration will continue to support our city's small businesses. I have a few questions to ask the administration. Wanted to know if SBS has been conducting outreach and certifying MWBE so that they can be eligible for lucrative contracting opportunities, receive support and thrive. What funding is the agency committing in fiscal year 23 to continue supporting MWBEs? How does the expiration of pandemic-related federal funding change SBS's approach? And lastly, does SBS expect headcount decreases and vacancies to impact the agency's ability to conduct programs and maintain relationships with the businesses across our communities?
So thank you, Council Member. I will start in reverse with the last question, something akin to what Chair Menon had asked. We know that the 17 vacancies that won't be filled again will not impact us in the way that some may think, because of, again, some of the organizational restructuring that I'll be organizing here through efficiencies and redundancies and internal reorg that's going to happen. We feel that the staff here, true and tested through the pandemic, is more than up to the challenge of being able to deliver all of our services to the highest level that the city has come to expect from SBSers. And we are confident that the new initiatives that are coming online too will be able to deliver those as well with the staff that we currently have and with the expected revenue increases that we'll be getting through the initiatives. That's the answer to your last question. On the MWBE question, as I mentioned, we are out there with our outreach programs aggressively looking to certify more and more minority and women-owned businesses. We are using our mobile units. We're in the Bronx today, for example. We were in East Harlem on Friday, and we're reaching out to the business owners there as well to introduce them to MWBE certification opportunities. The MWBE online directory, as I mentioned, the revamping of it with very specific key search word functions, for example, has been really helpful in connecting agencies to MWBE owners. And then I forget, you had one other question related to the MWBE in the middle, if you might just repeat that.
You're on mute.
Sorry about that. So I was asking in terms of the funding that the agency is committing to fiscal year 23 to continue to support, but also how does the expiration of the pandemic-related federal funding change the approach?
Like you, we are committed to supporting our MWBs in every manner possible. I just wanted to point out that during fiscal year 21, for example, we collaborated with local development corporations, trade associations, with the chamber, and did 163 events to spread the word about MWBE certification and the benefits of getting certified. We've also instituted an MWBE mentoring program. So I feel like we have robust programming that has been already performed, and then the ones that are in the initiatives that will be supporting our MWBE programs through fiscal year 23 and beyond.
Thank you so much for that. And I look forward to working with you and your agency and making sure that, you know, we're getting support to our MWBEs and our local small businesses across the city. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So thank you so much. At the moment, we don't see other hands raised by council members. So I do have more questions, but if any of my colleagues want to jump in at any point, just please raise your hand and we will call on you. So another question I had, Commissioner, relates to bid funding. As you know, I've been a big proponent and have spoken quite extensively over the past couple of months about the need to fund smaller bids so that they can better market and promote their respective small businesses. So I'm thrilled that the administration has included funding. Could you speak a little bit about what those plans are? Has funding been determined?
Sure. Thank you, first of all, for your advocacy of the bids. You and I definitely share the value that bids are the connective tissue within commercial corridors throughout the city. And we both agree that all bids need to get the support that they need, the bigger bids and the smaller bids. And in this particular case, what the initiative, the new blueprint initiative is going to implement is supporting the smaller bids, the ones with under $500,000 in budgets, because we all know that through the pandemic, one of the data points show that the businesses within bid corridors, the bigger bid corridors, fared better, relatively better than businesses that had no bids or smaller bids. And so to address the inequity, we have to give all the adequate resources that all bids need to be able to do what they do best, which is support their local neighborhood commercial corridors. The actual dollar amount is still being worked out, and as soon as we have it, we'll share that with you. But rest be assured that it'll be adequate resources that are needed to support the smaller bids.
Thank you. And I would just advocate for the largest amount possible. As you know, one of the main points and why I asked for this funding to be allocated is because these smaller bids are spending a far larger share on admin and personnel than the larger bids that are better funded and that can quite honestly put more money into marketing and promoting their businesses. So we want to make sure that there's really bid equity, and that's what this request was really about. So thank you for honoring that, and I look forward to the details. So a couple more questions that I have. NYC and Company, obviously it's so important to make sure that they are adequately funded. So in fiscal 2022 for NYC and Company, the adopted budget for the agency included $25 million additional funding for NYC and Company's tourism recovery campaign. This funding, I notice, is not included in the fiscal 2023 plan. How was the additional funding used in 2022? And do you believe that by not including it in the 2023 plan, is it not included because you all feel the economy and tourism is back to pre-pandemic levels?
Well, thank you for that question. As I had said in the testimony, the NYC Company funding is just a pass-through. So I think that question is better directed to NYC and Co. But from SBS's point of view, we believe that the promotion of small business is critical, and we've been doing our part. As you know, during the pandemic, we had a very successful Shop Your Local campaign. Something you've also advocated is very important. We've done your Shop Your City 30-day challenge. We have also taken and supported our local manufacturing partners and had them go online and sell PPE in a marketplace that we helped to create through our Tech Talent Pipeline program and our local manufacturing partners. And we know that all these kinds of small efforts to help local businesses get online to sell their wares and goods and services is critical to helping them come back and help the city come back stronger than ever before. So for our part, we know that promotion of small business is something that we'll always be focused on, and we're looking for more and more creative ways to get the word out that you need to shop local to help our city come back.
Thank you. Yes, I couldn't agree with that more. And I have pushed NYC and Company to do additional campaigns that are focused on buy local, shop local, as well as speaking, of course, to the administration about that as well, because I do believe we need to increase the funding for that. Commercial lease assistance program. So the commercial lease assistance program is obviously a vital program that small businesses need very much right now. Can you talk a little bit about what the funding is for this program in the preliminary budget?
Sure. In terms of the details of the actual dollar amounts, I'll ask my first deputy commissioner to answer that. But just in terms of the program metrics, some of the other metrics, I know in fiscal year 2022, we've served 292 unique businesses. I think since the launch of this program back in February 2018, we've served over 1,000 unique businesses. And so we know that one of the biggest challenges every small business owner, retail business owner faces is the increase in rents, and also in terms of the complex leases that they have to face when dealing with their landlords. So this program has been so helpful in allowing small businesses to somewhat level the playing field by getting free pro bono legal assistance, to have experts help negotiate back rents that are owed, lease terms and whatnot. So in terms of the actual dollar amounts, I'll turn it over to my first deputy, please.
It's just a little bit over $5 million.
And do you feel that the need or demand for this, how has it changed during the pandemic? If you can talk a little bit about that.
I think that during the pandemic, the need was even greater because people and the businesses were in danger of closing. And I think they needed this kind of professional pro bono legal service to be able to go in and negotiate with landlords who are better equipped, better resourced. And I think that storefront vacancy is something that you and I also share our concern that storefront vacancies lead to a whole host of issues other than just economic consequences, immediate economic consequences, but public safety and quality of life issues. So I think that during the pandemic, when businesses were even in greater danger of closing, that the commercial lease assistance was very helpful in keeping some of the businesses open.
And I see that my colleague, Councilmember Mealy, has her hand up, so I'm going to call on her for questions.
All right,
Time
I'm
starts.
so sorry. How are you? I was just wondering, Commissioner, and thank you, my colleague. This is a great hearing because we need to make sure that the city get back to business. How are we doing with marketing, where if we have an open space and let vendors inside the space like a flea market, have we started doing anything such as that? And that's really my main question.
Well, thank you for that question. As you know, the street vendors are critical pathways of entrepreneurship, and that there's a street vendor advisory board that was created last year to address the various issues. That advisory board, I know, is hard at work and will release its recommendations soon. But to give you a little preview from what I know, they've been working on trying to find new vending opportunities on city property, but they're also looking at balancing the concerns and interests of the various stakeholders, including brick and mortar stores. So there's a lot of discussion still going on, and I think that's something more I'll leave to the advisory board to release its recommendations directly to you, but that's my understanding of what's going on currently.
All right. If I have a couple of spaces in my district, I would have to speak to the advisory board in regards to see how we can maybe have half the size as maybe a grocery store, and then the next is a vendor, because people have become entrepreneurs since the pandemic. Now this is a brick and mortar place, and if it's been vacant and it's owned by the city, why not let the people utilize it? So who should I speak to get that rolling?
Yes, so as you know, this administration is fully committed to working with partners like you in government and with the communities to discuss potential siting locations. And so we will follow up with you and connect you to the appropriate people to discuss this.
I'm looking forward to that. Thank you so much. And thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Council Member. And I don't see any other hands from fellow council members. So I am just going to make a quick closing statement to close the administration portion of the questioning. I first of all want to thank you, Commissioner, for your testimony today. I think it's so important, this blueprint that the administration has released. I look forward to getting more details with the specific funding because, as I said in my opening statement and in my line of questioning, I was very concerned about the reduction in federal funding. It's obviously very disappointing for our restaurants and other small businesses that there has not been additional allocation of federal funding. So I think now the onus is on the city to fill in a lot of that. And so I look forward to getting the details from you in terms of that. So we are now going to move straight into the public testimony. So I'm just going to re-gavel and we're going to now open the public testimony. And now I'm going to turn it over to our council to call on members of the public who can offer their testimony. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chair. Thank you so much, everyone. We will proceed with public testimony now. I am Stephanie Jones, and I am counsel to the New York City's Council's Committee on Small Business. Panelists, as a reminder, you will be on mute until it is time for you to testify, at which time your name will be called and you will be unmuted by the Zoom host. If you mute yourself after you have been muted, you will need to be muted again by the host. Please wait for the Sergeant at Arms to tell you when your time begins. Sergeant will then let you know when your time is up. As a reminder, you have 2 minutes for your testimony. We will now hear from Ergin Sherpa, followed by Angelica Novoa, and then Michaela Skopnik. Ergin?
Starting time.
Since Ergin has not responded yet to the unmute request, we will follow with the next public witness.
Yes,
and we will
I'm here.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, please proceed.
Yeah. Good afternoon. My name is Ergin Sherpa, and I'm from Chaya CDC. Chaya builds the power, housing stability, and economic well-being of South Asian and Indo-Caribbean communities in New York City. I would like to thank the committee for the opportunity to testify today. Chaya is also a member of United for Small Business NYC, USB NYC. Today, I am representing USB NYC. USB NYC is a coalition of community organizations across New York City fighting to protect New York's small businesses and non-residential tenants from the threat of displacement, with particular focus on owner-operated, low-income, people of color-run businesses that serve low-income communities and communities of color. Small businesses are cornerstones of our city and neighborhood. They provide jobs, culturally relevant goods and services, and community, keeping our neighborhood thriving and vibrant place to live. USB NYC members include legal and other direct service providers, as well as merchant organizing and advocacy organizations. And through our members, we reach thousands of small businesses of all kinds throughout New York City. Throughout the past 2 years, the small business owners in our networks have faced a significant need for direct funding that remains largely unaddressed by federal, state, and city programs. In addition to opening up more grant programs, the existing resources and support services must be expanded. In order for that funding to reach those with the most critical need, planning for full equitable small business recovery must include significant funding to address these gaps. We urge you to, 1, provide significant direct small business relief funding. 2, expand the commercial lease assistance program to include nonprofit organizations and other commercial tenancy matters, and make the CLA program permanent with CLA grant. Support the enhancement of worker cooperation business development initiative to $5,012,552. Fund community-based organizations engaging in merchant organizing and outreach effort. Increase accessibility to SBS services for limited English proficiency immigrant small business owners by expanding language capacity within the agency. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will be inviting to testify Angelica Novoa, followed by Michaela Skoknick, and then Alex Zabik. Angelica?
Starting time.
Good afternoon. My name is Angelica Novoa. I'm the Director of Training and Education at New Immigrant Community Empowerment NICE. We are grateful to share our testimony on behalf of our organization and the thousands of immigrant, day laborers, and families in New York City. We urge the City Council to invest in the Day Labor Workforce Initiative, the low-wage worker support, and the construction site safety training to continue the work that organizations such as NICE provides to over 15,000 immigrant workers per year. Day laborers, especially newly arrived immigrants and women, work in some of the most unsafe and unregulated industries. They experience rampant wage theft, pervasive construction accidents, unchecked workplace hazards, and lack of access to free, in Spanish, and culturally dignified training. This is particularly true for elder workers and women who are transitioning from domestic work to construction. On day labor corners, known as paradas, day laborers also lack access to workforce development training and access to shelter, water, bathrooms, and other basic necessities. The goal of the Day Labor Workforce Initiative is to work together with NICE and other job centers and address these issues by connecting workers to critical services, providing training, leading wage-safe legal clinics, facilitating access to good jobs, and most importantly, creating safe, dignified spaces for day laborers looking for a job. The services we provide at NICE are more essential now than ever before. Every year, over 7,500 workers use NICE Job Center during the morning shift, and NICE dispatches over 1,200 jobs per year. Only in the last 2 years, our membership has increased up to 12,000 members because of the pandemic. This past year, more than 3,200 workers participated in our construction site safety training and our professional development and skill training, which includes painting, plumbing, demolition, framing, digital literacy, ESOL, and apprenticeship programs. 1/3 of the participants were women. Through our partnership with SBS and the site safety training under Local Law 196, NICE has provided over 2,000 SSD cards to our members and continue to empower them to use the new Training Connect card. Additionally, our NICE centers refer approximately 1,500 people to critical services, including health clinics, registration to NYC Care, legal services, financial services, among others. Since the onset of the pandemic, partnering with Moya and other agencies, NICE has distributed more than $3.3 million in direct cash relief, close to 200,000 meals and grocery packages to help fight the growing hunger among immigrant workers. We urge the Council to continue investing in the Day Labor Workforce Initiative, the low-wage worker support, the construction site safety training, to empower thousands of day laborers, women and men in the construction industry, and fight for their dignity and their economic recovery. In particular, we urge the Council to renew and expand the Day Labor Workforce Initiative coalition budget for year 2023 to $5.4 million. To expand the access to workforce development and training opportunities for immigrants, day laborer centers, and low-income New Yorkers.
Thank you so much. If you could wrap it up a little bit just to keep the testimony moving along, so we have a lot of people graduating. Apologies, but if you could wrap it up. Thank you.
I only have 2 more phrases. We also urge the Council to renew and expand the site safety training funding under Local Law 196. Thank you for your consideration and time.
Thank you so much. Next, we'll be calling Michaela Skoknick, followed by Alex Zabik, and then Jin Ying Zai. Michaela?
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you.
Perfect. Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairperson Menin and members of the Small Business Committee. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Michaela Skoknick, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Southwest Brooklyn Industrial Development Corporation. SBADC is a mission-driven nonprofit that has been supporting industrial businesses and their workforce along the working waterfronts of Sunset Park, Red Hook, and Gowanus for over 40 years. I am asking the Council to restore and expand funding for the Industrial Business Service Provider Program, IBSP, in the small business services budget, so the essential businesses in our industrial business zone can continue to thrive, grow, and help lead a more just economic recovery from the pandemic. As an IBSP, our organization provides a wide range of free support services so that industrial firms can continue to do business in Brooklyn. We help businesses access financing, find new spaces to operate, navigate city agencies, and help register MWBEs. We also play a critical role in connecting industrial and manufacturing businesses to each other, fostering a local ecosystem of economic benefits for the neighborhood, and helping to keep production jobs in Brooklyn. Finally, we offer educational courses and workshops to MWBEs to help them stay resilient, expand their sales and job offerings, and grow their revenue. SBADC also runs the New York City Workforce One Center at the Brooklyn Army Terminal to help match businesses with local residents looking for employment. And in 2021, we responded to a growing skills gap in the manufacturing sector by launching a young adult job training program to create career pathways in the industrial sector. In a city where affordable and accessible industrial land is scarce, organizations like ours are a key component to business retention, which is critical to an equitable economic development strategy. The industrial sector pays higher wages and offers more career opportunities to a workforce that is 80% people of color and 50% foreign-born. Thank you. Additionally, the businesses we serve are a key to the city's ability to respond to emergencies. As an example, since the pandemic, we have helped serve MWBE business garment manufacturers pivot to create PPE. In the last 12 months,
Michaela, please wrap up. Thank you.
Wrapping up right now. So SBADC has helped almost connect business to almost $4 million in funding, and we have provided free technical assistance to over 200 firms. Appropriate levels for funding for the IBC program will ensure that we are able to serve the many businesses that rely upon us for support and counseling, and industrial businesses keep New York City running. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we'll be calling on Alex Zebek, followed by Jinying Zai, and then Marie Renee Sita. Alex?
Good afternoon. My name is Alex Grzebek, and I am a staff attorney at Brooklyn Legal Services Corporation A, known as Brooklyn A. I currently represent 15 small businesses through Brooklyn A's Commercial Lease Assistance Program, funded by New York City Department of Small Business Services. The Commercial Lease Assistance Program, CLA, provides high-quality attorneys free of cost to New York City small businesses. I personally came to work with Brooklyn A because I wanted to directly serve those in my community that exhibited the greatest needs for affordable and high-quality legal services. CLA is a lifesaver for my clients. My clients are parents, caretakers, siblings, friends, and community members, and impact every facet of New York City's economy. I would like to share the story of my client, who I will refer to as Art Gallery. My client came to us with rent arrears totaling over $110,000. With the business hemorrhaging and trying to stay afloat amidst the global pandemic, I negotiated a waiver of $61,000 in rent arrears, an affordable repayment plan for the remaining arrears, and a tenant-friendly lease amendment that would ensure that my client would stay in its commercial space for the remainder of its lease term. The future of CLA must be a certainty for New York City small businesses like Art Gallery. As the face of CLA, I have three key asks. One, CLA needs to be a permanent service for New York City small business owners. It is a critical resource and lifeline for all our small businesses. Two, our impact depends on the tools of leverage available to us. We need a grant embedded into CLA so that we may give our small business owners the financial leverage they need. And three, when considering legislation that affects residential tenants, let us do our part in ensuring that commercial tenants get afforded similar protections so that our small businesses, the very backbone of this city, remain for years to come. I hope Art Gallery's story provides a better understanding of the need for making permanent and growing with Brooklyn A this legal assistance program for our small business owners. Brooklyn A's CLA partnership with SBS is the only program of its kind in the nation. New York City is a trailblazer in city support for small businesses, and CLA is an irreplaceable resource for our small businesses. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we'll be calling Jinying Zai, followed by Marie Renee Sita, and then Malat Seyum. Jinying?
Starting time.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Jing Jai. I am a staff attorney at Brooklyn Legal Service Corporation A, known as BKA. I have represented 33 small business owners through BKA's Commercial Lease Assistance Program funded by New York City Department of Small Business Service. My clients speak Spanish, Korean, Chinese, and many other languages, and will provide service in every language. I would like to share the story of my client, who I will refer to as Brooklyn Tattoo. It is a very popular tattoo shop that has been in business for over 10 years. However, when COVID-19 hit, Brooklyn Tattoo was forced to shut down for an extended period of time. When Brooklyn Tattoo sought BKA's assistance, the owner had already packed its equipment and arranged for a moving company to permanently close. I represented Brooklyn Tattoo and helped with 1, a review of its lease rights and obligation under their commercial lease. 2, I negotiate rental concessions with the landlord using grant funding as an upfront payment in exchange of the landlord waiving Brooklyn Tattoo's arrears and reducing its rent for an additional year. Brooklyn Tattoo canceled the moving company, unpacked its equipment, and today Brooklyn Tattoo continues to make its mark. The future of CLA must be a certainty for NYC small businesses like Brooklyn Tattoo. As the face of CLA, I have 2 key asks. 1, the CLA needs to be a permanent service. It is a critical resource and lifeline for all our small businesses. 2, our small businesses depend on us to provide the tools of leverage. They approach the bargaining table with nothing, and we need a grant embedded into CLA so that we may give our small business owners the financial leverage they need. I thank this committee for your time and your continued support of my team at Brooklyn A. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'd like to call Marie Renee Sita, followed by Malat Seyum, and then Julian McKinley. Marie?
Starting time.
Good afternoon. My name is Marie Renee Sita, and I'm a staff attorney at Brooklyn Legal Services Corporation A, also known as Brooklyn A. I have represented over 50 small business owners through Brooklyn A's Commercial Lease Assistance Program, which provides high-quality attorneys free of cost to New York City small businesses in any language under the sun. I came to work at Brooklyn A in the midst of the pandemic because I believed and continue to believe that a just economic recovery is critical to maintaining the fabric of New York City. And I know that small businesses are the backbone of a fair and equitable economy. CLA is a lifesaver for my clients. My clients are community cornerstones, they're employers, they're neighbors, parents, grandparents, caretakers, siblings, friends, and community members. More importantly, they are why New York City is one of the most dynamic cities in the world. I will share a story of one of my clients who I'll refer to as Manhattan Dry Cleaner. Its owner is an immigrant, and before the pandemic, they decided to open up a dry cleaning business and a laundromat to supplement their retirement savings. They just simply didn't have enough to retire without doing so. However, the pandemic hit and their business plummeted, and at certain points was barely 25% of pre-pandemic levels. So instead of being a financial support, the business became a liability. Manhattan Dry Cleaner racked up over $150,000 in commercial rent arrears. And what's more, like so many New York City small businesses, the business owner personally guaranteed the lease obligations. So as a result, the business owner was facing bankruptcy, as well as the prospect of having to close down. I represented Manhattan Dry Cleaner and helped them negotiate the waiver of over half of their arrears and helped them negotiate a payment plan for the remaining arrears. I also assisted them in applying for the storefront rent relief grant. Today, my client is still in business. The future of CLA must be a certainty for New York City small businesses.
Time expired.
I have 3 key asks. First, CLA needs to be a permanent service for New York City small businesses. Second, because our impact depends on the leverage we have, we ask that a grant be permanently embedded within the CLA program. Finally, CLA services should be expanded to New York City nonprofit enterprises, which, like our small businesses, serve, support, and employ so many New Yorkers. I thank this committee for its time and its continued support.
Thank you. Next, we'll be calling on to testify Malat Seyum, followed by Julian McKinley, and then Shelley Miller. Malat?
Thank you.
Starting time.
Honorable Chairperson and distinguished members of the New York City Council on Small Businesses. My name is Melat Siyum, and I'm the Worker Co-op Policy Advocate for the New York City Network of Worker Cooperatives, also known as NCNOC, the local trade association representing worker cooperative businesses and democratic workplaces in New York City metropolitan area. I'm here alongside my colleagues from the Democracy at Work Institute, the ICA Group, Workers' Justice Project, and NCNOC Advocacy Council, representing 9 other organizations that make up the Worker Cooperative Business Development Initiative, asking New York City Council to continue supporting the expansion of worker ownership in next year's budget and firmly into the future. Since the inception of the initiative, we have created over 175 new cooperative businesses and approximately 1,000 new jobs that are not only providing higher hourly wages, but also building wealth and assets for individuals who are overwhelmingly BIPOC, women, and immigrants. We have seen firsthand how the initiative has served to bolster our sector, strengthening existing cooperative businesses and creating new ones, which are overwhelmingly immigrant and women-owned. The initiative partners have collectively worked to create a comprehensive ecosystem of support for cooperative businesses that not only ensures the creation of new cooperatives in low-income areas, but also the technical assistance needed to sustain businesses and create jobs, as well as the education and outreach needed for communities, interested entrepreneurs, and allied organizations. We asked the City Council to enhance our funding to $5 million in order for us to double down on the essential long-term economic recovery for our cooperative businesses that we need for us to claw ourselves out of this pandemic crisis. We thank the City Council for the opportunity to testify, and we hope that you consider our budget priorities and recommendations during this year's budget negotiation process. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'd like to call to testify Julian McKinley, followed by Shelley Miller, and then Matthew Shapiro. Julian, please proceed.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon to the chair and distinguished members of the New York City Council Committee on Small Businesses. It's always an honor to address you, and especially an honor today as I submit testimony in support of the hardworking individuals and families in our community. My name is Julian McKinley, and I'm the Senior Director of Communications at the Democracy at Work Institute, also known as DAWI by our close partners. And on behalf of DAWI and the 14 organizations that make up WCBDI, the Worker Cooperative Business Development Initiative, we want to thank you for the opportunity to speak about economic development in our communities and worker cooperatives' unique ability to establish, grow, and retain community wealth. Since 2014, your support has helped WCBDI transform this potential into real change for working families in our communities. As Malat just mentioned, we have been incredibly impactful over those years, having created more than 1,000 jobs and pathways to business ownership, reaching 9,000 entrepreneurs with education and technical assistance services, having created over 175 new worker-owned businesses, and they are providing higher hourly wages, better working conditions, often safer conditions, especially during COVID, and building wealth and equity for workers. In our role as a national organization, DAWI, to create expanded access to worker ownership for communities who are affected by economic and social injustice, we conduct an annual census of firms monitoring growth and the sector, and identify trends, successes, and challenges. And I share this because this work gives us a unique view, a bird's eye assessment really, combined with an intimate approach to supporting workers and aspiring worker owners in New York City. And in the past 8 years, the City Council's deep committed support, with that support, the WCBDI has worked to build a comprehensive ecosystem that has brought new jobs to communities that are most in need. We brought successful local businesses and provided the technical assistance, the education, and outreach that's needed to ensure business success. As a result, New York City now continues to be the largest cooperative ecosystem in the US. It's home to Cooperative Home Care Associates, which is the largest worker-owned business in the US as well. And the city has become a model for equitable economic development through its support of worker cooperative development. Worker co-ops.
Please wrap up, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We do ask that you continue to support us. I'd say that worker co-ops are economically sound and providing a much better path to business ownership than conventional businesses. And thank you for your support.
Thank you. Next, we'd like to call Shelley Miller to testify, followed by Matthew Shapiro, and then Yesenia Mata. Shelley?
Time starts now. Good afternoon, and thank you, Honorable Chairperson Julie Menon, distinguished committee members, and your staffs. I really appreciate this time to speak to you. I am the Senior Outreach Manager for the ICA Group, and we're members of the Worker Cooperative Business Development Initiative, formerly known or informally known as WCBDI. I testify in support of the WCBDI's ask today and to ask you to continue to support the initiative. As part of the WCBDI, ICA focuses on converting conventional businesses into worker cooperatives. We do this to increase worker voice, worker wealth, and worker power. We also seek to prevent local small business closures and the resultant loss of jobs. When we convert businesses to worker cooperatives, in addition to saving firms and jobs, we reward small business owners for the blood and sweat they spent building businesses over many years. Rather than walking away with little or nothing from liquidating the business, we work with the owners to determine a fair market value for the business, and retiring owners get to take away a nest egg to support them in their retirement when they sell to their workers. During the last fiscal year, ICA converted 8 small New York City businesses that employ 76 employees and have already added some additional employees. These businesses exist in all the communities throughout New York City and include manufacturing, communications, retail sales, healthcare, and engineering firms. Through the initiative, they continue to receive technical assistance from ICA to ensure their success. The new worker owners have diversified the ownership of these firms to members from different racial, ethnic, and economic backgrounds. This shift in demographics helps to close the racial wealth gap, which is one of our goals. ICA's technical assistance also includes training the new worker owners in operating a democratic workplace and encourages them to actively engage in the civic democratic process as part of the broader community of cooperative businesses. We're pleased to say that both worker owners and the business owners have found our work under the initiative invaluable. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Shelley. Next, we'd like to call Matthew Shapiro to testify, followed by Yesenia Mata and then Valerie White. Matthew?
Time starts now.
Hi, my name is Matthew Shapiro, and I am the legal director of the Street Vendor Project at the Urban Justice Center. The Street Vendor Project is a membership-based organization of over 2,000 mostly immigrant street vendors who work in New York City's public space selling food and merchandise. We organize vendors to make their voices heard, as well as provide legal and small business assistance. We respectfully request funding to sustain and expand 2 critical programs that serve street vendors, New York City's smallest businesses. The first is the Community Outreach and Education Program, and the second is the Small Business Consultation Programs. These programs will support an equitable economic recovery for New York City. Through the Community Outreach and Education Program, we conduct multilingual outreach on the streets to vendors in person to educate them on the rules and regulations of vending, teach them their legal rights and responsibilities, and connect them to a variety of resources ranging from public health to immigration. Through our Small Business Consultation Program, we provide multilingual legal and small business services to vendors throughout the city. Such services include business compliance and digital literacy, personal finances for small businesses, marketing, and our legal services include advisement on the vending laws and rules, sales tax assistance, licensing and permitting, application assistance, free legal representation before the Oath Tribunal on administrative summonses, and representation in New York State and federal courts for street vending related litigation. The Street Vendor Project is currently the only organization in New York City that provides these services for New York City street vendors. In 2021, we provided assistance on over 375 cases for street vendors receiving legal and small business assistance. Funding will allow us to keep current staff for the Small Business Consultation Program. SVP's Women and BIPOC Business Empowerment Organizer will lead the program to provide essential small business training, and the legal director will provide oversight. With the New York City Council support, we will sustain and expand these programs. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today.
Thank you, Matthew. And before we continue, we'd like to acknowledge that CM Krishnan has joined us, Councilor Krishnan. Okay, so next we will call to testify Yesenia Mata, followed by Valerie White, and then Julia Curry. Yesenia?
Time starts now.
Hi, my name is Arlet Cepeda on behalf of Yesenia Mata. I'm the Deputy Director of La Colmena. We are a day labor and immigrants' rights organization based in Staten Island, and we form part of the Day Labor Coalition. I want to thank Chairwoman Menin and the rest of the committee for holding this important hearing, but also want to thank specifically Chairwoman Menin for her incredible work with the census. We had a wonderful opportunity to collaborate, so thank you so much. I wanted to highlight all the work that La Colmena has done during the pandemic, but due to time, we are unable to do that. But we do want to emphasize that our work has helped save lives during the pandemic. La Colmena was and still is in the front lines. We have provided Staten Islanders with food, COVID vaccines, PPE for small businesses, and cash distributions. And in addition to providing job dispatching, workforce development, and training opportunities to day laborers, our centers have become a first responders to emergencies. But it seems that the coalition is being forgotten or ignored because we say this because our city contracts are still pending registration. So right now, the city, we have accrued over $500,000 worth of work that has not been registered and we are unable to invoice for. And it's making us almost at the brink of closing our doors. We have been able to maintain our doors open thanks to the support. So we are asking the commission to please advocate on our behalf, on behalf of our colleagues, to make sure that our contracts get registered and that we get paid for the work that we do on behalf of the city. So that continues to support and provide work and support to our immigrants communities.
Time expired.
Okay, just to finalize, I just want to make sure that we don't forget that our immigrant communities are the ones that are going to bring equity in New York City's recovery. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for testifying. Next, we will call to testify Valerie White, followed by Julia Curry, and then Scott Bomberger. Valerie?
Time starts now.
Hi, my name is Valerie White. I'm the Executive Director of LIST New York City, a community development nonprofit committed to closing the racial wealth gap and creating a more equitable, inclusive, and sustainable New York through investment in community and economic development infrastructure and initiatives. Thank you to Chair Menin and the rest of the committee for the opportunity to testify, and thank you to New York City SBS for their ongoing and longstanding partnership. On behalf of the hundreds of minority-owned businesses for whom we advocate and provide grant funding and programming, there are three considerations I want to highlight today. One, it's critical that the budget includes comprehensive funding for innovative relief to support our minority-owned small businesses attempting to recover from the pandemic. Financial relief, of course, needs to be dispersed to struggling small businesses immediately, but relief programs must also ensure that these minority-owned businesses have the long-term support, services, resources, networks, and technical assistance that they need to operate a prosperous business well into the future. Second, I want to make clear the importance of continued support for the $100 million New York City Small Business Resiliency Grant, which is providing BIPOC-owned businesses crucial funding. These businesses make up the economic, culture, and social backbone of low and moderate income neighborhoods. And without them, the future of countless commercial quarters will be jeopardized and commercial blight will take over for far too many minority neighborhoods, forcing longstanding residents and businesses out. Finally, the MWBE Leadership Association must continue to serve a pivotal role in enhancing the capacity of MWBEs in all sectors of New York's economy. This program helps increase the competitiveness of MWBEs bidding for public contracts, connects them with appropriate financing, and generally allows them, these business enterprises, to play a bigger role in the economy. At LIST New York City, we stand ready to partner with Chair Menin, the members of the committee, and New York City SBS to stand up the needed support for New York City small minority minority-owned businesses as the budget negotiation proceed. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you, Valerie. Next, we'd like to call Julia Curry, followed by Scott Bomberger, and then Catherine Merchek. Julia?
Time starts now.
Thank you, Chair Menon and members of the committee. My name is Julia Curry, and I'm a staff attorney with the Volunteers Legal Service, VOLS Microenterprise Project. VOLS was established in 1984, and our purpose is to leverage private attorneys to provide free legal services to low-income New Yorkers to help fill the justice gap. For over 20 years, the VOLS Microenterprise Project has helped existing and aspiring small business owners and micro-entrepreneurs access high-quality free legal services from our dedicated staff and our network of pro bono attorneys. For many New Yorkers, owning a small business is an effective path out of poverty and into financial stability and independence. VOLS provides assistance with drafting contracts, reviewing governing documents, protecting intellectual property, and advising on commercial leases, among other issue areas. We partner with community and economic development organizations to connect with clients who would benefit from our legal assistance, focusing on minority, women, immigrant, and veteran-owned businesses. We conduct legal educational programs for small business owners throughout the city and advocate for the small business community through our participation in community outreach and small business coalitions. VOLS is one of a small handful of legal organizations offering direct legal assistance to small business owners and micro-entrepreneurs in New York City who otherwise would not be able to afford legal representation. We would like to thank the New York City Council for the support provided to the VOLS Microenterprise Project through the Neighborhood Development Grant Initiative. I joined VOLS in February 2020, about 3 weeks before our city shut down due to the COVID-19 pandemic. In those initial weeks of uncertainty, the small business community was in crisis. The VOLS Microenterprise Project was a resource for our clients, leading Know Your Rights trainings and producing guides for small business owners on the impact of the virus and the mandatory restrictions on or closures of their businesses. Since March 2020, our team has served hundreds of small businesses in great need in the wake of COVID-19. As we emerge from the pandemic and the city continues to reopen, small businesses, both established and new, will need legal services. VOLS is a unique resource in that we are able to provide full-scale business services to our small business clients free of charge. We cannot
Time expired.
New York City small business. We cannot do this work for small businesses without your support and partnership. Thank you for your steadfast championing of the New York City small business community.
Thank you. Next, we'd like to call Scott Bomberger to testify, followed by Ruth Lopez Martinez, and then Maria Valdez. Scott?
Time starts now.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Scott Bamberger, and I'm a staff attorney at Brooklyn Legal Services, Corporation A, known as Brooklyn A. In the last 2 months, I have represented over 35 business owners through the Brooklyn A's Commercial Lease Assistance Program, funded by New York City Department of Small Business Services. My clients have spoken a variety of languages, including Spanish, French, and Russian. I came to work at Brooklyn A because of my interest in working with small business owners. I quickly learned that Brooklyn A's CLA program was providing a necessary service in an area of law that has consistently treated low-income small business owners inequitably. I wanted to take the time today to share a client story, a client I will call the Tavern. The Tavern came to Brooklyn A with more than $100,000 in arrears, a lapsed liquor license, and issues obtaining a valid certificate of occupancy, a responsibility allocated to the Tavern in the lease. The Tavern did not have the funds to pay the arrears, nor the ability to obtain a valid liquor license or the certificate of occupancy. Unfortunately, the Tavern was in a position many small business owners find themselves in. They need to operate to obtain funds to pay the arrears, but they cannot operate without the proper licenses. I represented the Tavern and helped them negotiate a waiver of nearly 60% of the arrears by offering an upfront payment with a grant. Additionally, the landlord agreed to share the cost of obtaining the certificate of occupancy and a termination option for the Tavern if they could not obtain a valid liquor license. While the Tavern received the benefits of our services, many small business owners face these landlords alone. To change this, the future of CLA must be a certainty for New York City small businesses like the Tavern. As the face of CLA, I have 3 key asks. First, CLA needs to be a permanent service for New York City small business owners. It's a critical resource for all our small businesses.
Expired.
Okay, just 2 more. So second, a grant embedded into the CLA program. And third, CLA should be expanded to nonprofits. I appreciate the time today.
Thank you. Next, we'd like to call to testify Ruth Lopez Martinez, followed by Maria Valdez, and then Justin Scogins. Ruth?
Time starts now.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Ruth López Martínez y soy una dueña trabajadora de la cooperativa Palante Green Cleans. Nosotros ofrecemos servicios de limpieza de apartamentos, casas, oficinas y también hacemos trabajos de postconstrucción en toda la ciudad de Nueva York. Nosotros nacimos en el 2014 como una solución a la carencia en la ciudad de empleos con soluciones dignas que nos permitieran sobrevivir en la ciudad y ayudar a nuestras familias en nuestros países. Al igual que mi cooperativa, existen en la ciudad de Nueva York un gran sinnúmero de cooperativas con diferentes actividades que ayudan al crecimiento de la ciudad de Nueva York y que todas pagamos taxes. Las cooperativas han logrado mejorar la vida de muchos emigrantes y mejorar los índices de desempleo de la ciudad de Nueva York. Sin embargo, la pandemia, al igual que muchos pequeños negocios, hizo estragos en la mayoría de las cooperativas. Algunas no lograron sobrevivir y cerraron sus puertas. Y otras, como mi cooperativa Palante, sufren las consecuencias económicas que ha dejado esta pandemia. Por eso, hoy quiero decirles que necesitamos el apoyo de ustedes, que necesitamos que pongan sus ojos a este tipo de negocios. Necesitamos que sigan apoyando a la WCBDR. Necesitamos que contraten a las cooperativas para poder seguir creciendo. Si las cooperativas son apoyadas por ustedes, seguramente vamos nosotros a lograr salir adelante. No quiero terminar sin decirle que tengo la certeza que podemos contar con ustedes para seguir creciendo junto a esta maravillosa ciudad. Contamos con todos ustedes para mejorar, para crecer y para seguir teniendo unos salarios dignos. Muchas gracias por la oportunidad.
Gracias, Ruth. We will move on to our next public witness. We'd like to call Maria Valdez, followed by Justin Scoggins, and then Cameron Jung. Maria?
Time starts now.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity for testifying today. My name is Maria Valdez. I'm here representing the Workers' Justice Project. I am testifying on behalf of essential workers who are day laborers, cleaners, and delivery workers for the city of New York. As we reinvent and renew our city's economy, we urge the council to demonstrate its commitment to revitalize the economy by investing $5.355 million in the Day Labor Workforce Initiative and $1.5 million in Deliveristas hubs. Day laborers and delivery workers are vital to the recovery of small businesses. Workers' Justice Project is committed to working with the City of New York in developing career pathways for construction workers, cleaners, and delivery workers by enabling them to obtain critical occupations and leadership skills through on-site training. At the WJP Day Labor Center, workers collectively set the wage floor at $20 per hour, but wages can go up to $20 per hour. The center makes itself appealing to responsible employers by connecting them with skilled and trained workforce that is often neglected from New York City's traditional workforce development services. Because employers know that and trust that workers can provide skilled labor and being trained and assessed, they're willing to pay higher wages. The center also plays a role in revitalizing the local economy, creating over $1 million in revenue every year through increased wages. Through the Day Labor Center, workers have been able to increase their salaries by 30 to 40%. We are proud to be building a city that values the contribution of the day laborers, delivery workers, and cleaners by investing in a meaningful workforce development infrastructure through the Day Labor Initiative and Deliveristas Hub. We hope that you will continue to make commitment to lead the nation to fight the workers' rights and workforce development inclusion. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. We will now call to testify Justin Scoggins, followed by Cameron Jung, and then Tidar Kyaw. Justin?
Time starts now.
I was recommended to CLA by Lloyd, and I have a small business that I started at the very beginning of the pandemic, before we knew it was a pandemic. So I was not open for business, and I was indirectly affected by COVID. I have rent arrears up to $75K, and they've been walking me through it as of recently. Without them, I'll be lost. I have no prior experience with opening a business before, and I just said thank you for your help, and they are helping me so I won't lose my livelihood. And I was not able to get a SCBA loan because I was not open before before COVID happened, and now I'm struggling with that. And yeah, these guys are holding my hand, walking me through the process, and giving me advice I never would have had. So yes, thank you very much, and let's hope that they continue to support us.
Thank you for your testimony, Justin.
Yep.
We will now call to testify Cameron Jung, followed by Tidar Kyaw, and then Andy Bowen. Cameron?
Time starts now.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Cameron Jung, and I'm a staff attorney at Brooklyn Legal Services Corporation A, known as Brooklyn A. Right now, I'm representing 8 businesses through Brooklyn A's Commercial Lease Assistance Program, funded by New York City Department of Small Business Services. My clients speak French, Spanish, and many other languages, and Brooklyn A ensures services are available in all languages. I came to work with Brooklyn A because I wanted to use my legal knowledge and skills to assist individuals going through the most difficult times in their lives. CLA is a lifeline for my clients. My clients are parents, caretakers, siblings, friends, and community members that impact every facet of New York City's economy. I would like to share a story of my client, who I will refer to as Brooklyn Restaurant. Brooklyn Restaurant is a Spanish-speaking business owner, came to Brooklyn A with thousands of dollars in arrears, and was unable to communicate with their landlord, who sought eviction. I was able to negotiate with the landlord and set up an affordable payment plan with 0% interest that benefited both parties. Without CLA, Brooklyn Restaurant would presently be in court. Instead, Brooklyn Restaurant is open today and continuing to boost the New York City economy. The future of CLA must be a certainty for New York City small businesses like Brooklyn Restaurant. As the face of CLA, I have 3 key asks. 1, CLA needs to be a permanent service for New York City small business owners. It's a critical resource and lifeline for all small businesses. 2, CLA clients are some of the most vulnerable small business populations and often approach the negotiation table with nothing. We need effective tools to bring to landlords to the negotiation table. We need a grant embedded in CLA so that we may give our small business owners the financial leverage they need. 3, CLA should be expanded to include New York City nonprofits. They are critical to the city's economy and are closing at alarmingly high rates. I hope New York City Restaurant's story provides a better understanding of the need for making permanent and growing the Brooklyn A with legal assistance program of our small business owners. Brooklyn A's CLA partnership with SBS is the only program of its kind in the nation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we'd like to call Tidar Kyaw to testify, followed by Andy Bowen, and then She Green. Tidar?
Time starts now.
Thank you. I am speaking on behalf of our client, Tidar Thaw, business owner of Little Myanmar in Manhattan. Ms. Thaw's statement is the following. I originally had an Asian mart and deli market in Queens, but unfortunately my store was destroyed in the fire of 2020. I did not receive any insurance payment because I did not have a written lease with a landlord. I have learned the importance of having a written lease the hard way. I spent months looking for a new lease, but I was hesitant to sign the lease because I alone could not fully understand what the lease says. My landlords always have attorneys, but I am a small business owner with limited resources and I cannot afford an attorney. Brooklyn Legal Services Corporation A and the Commercial Lease Assistance Program have saved me. Without the Commercial Lease Assistance, which provides free attorneys to small businesses like myself, we would have no one else to assist with lease reviews and lease negotiations because legal fees are unaffordable. Please support this critical program because this is how you support small businesses like mine. The issues my business faced include my real estate agent was unwilling to negotiate with the landlord on my behalf. My landlord would agree to one thing and then end up drafting a clause in the lease that says the opposite. And I could not get my landlord to install an AC and heating unit in the space prior to me signing the lease. An attorney at BKA reviewed my landlord's proposed lease terms and thoroughly explained my rights and obligations under such lease terms. They advised me that in addition to my monthly rent, I am obligated to pay additional money for real estate taxes. They helped me negotiate with my landlord to reduce a portion of my monthly rent so that I can budget the real estate tax payments into my rental costs and make sure I can afford the space. They also coordinated with my real estate agent and my landlord to push out the signing date so that the landlord will install the AC and heating unit in the space ahead of time, and I can perform an inspection before signing my name to the lease agreement. Brooklyn A's Commercial Lease Assistance Program helped my business. Thank you for hearing my testimony today.
Thank you for your testimony. I'm told that Malat Sayoum can do a translation for the individual who testified a few people ago, Ruth Lopez Martinez. Malat, are you still available?
Yes, I'm available to do the translation.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Ruth Lopez Martinez, and I'm the worker owner of the cooperative Palante Green Clean. We offer cleaning services to offices, apartments, houses, and we do cleaning of post-construction. We were created in 2014 as a solution to the lack of jobs in the city with living wages that would allow us to survive in the city and to help our families in our countries. Like my cooperative, there are a number of cooperatives in New York City with different economic activities for cleaning, support for the elderly, childcare, dog care, and a lot of more services that help the economic growth of the city. The cooperatives have been able to improve the lives of many immigrants and improve unemployment rates in the city. However, the pandemic, as with a larger number of small businesses, wreaked havoc on most of the cooperatives. Some failed to survive and closed their doors. Others, like mine, are suffering the economic consequences of the pandemic. That is why today I want to tell you that we need your support. We need you to put your eyes on the type of business that undoubtedly helps the prosperity of all. I believe that the future of the economy should be cooperative to achieve a better world with equity, justice, and fair economic growth for the hardworking owners of cooperatives, and therefore for the economic growth of the city of New York. If cooperatives grow, if we support us, we will have many more immigrants who can join these businesses. We will have a happier and more committed workforce, giving New York City a leg up in economic growth. Your support, your commitment to cooperatives is necessary and urgent to continue to grow, and not to be just another number in the statistics of small businesses that disappeared as a result of the pandemic due to lack of support. I am confident that we can count on you. Thank you, distinguished honorable chairperson and council members.
Thank you both for your testimonies and for translating the lot. We will now be calling Andy Bowen, followed by She Green, and then Kate Krug. Andy?
Time starts now.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Menon, council members, and staff who are putting this hearing together. My name is Andy Bowen, and I'm principal of Bowen Public Affairs Consulting. I'm also a transgender woman and activist. I'm here to request the Committee on Small Business and Council support a proposed new initiative to help LGBTQ people into union careers, which we are calling the Pride at Work Initiative. We ask the council fund this proposed initiative at a range of $600,000 to $700,000. This initiative is meant to bring funded organizations together in a multi-sectoral approach with multiple pathways into union jobs, focusing on recruitment of LGBTQ communities in NYC, primarily BIPOC LGBTQ communities. Partners submitting testimony today will explain their projects in this effort, but overall, we will have the combined effort of many entities to get LGBTQ people into union careers. Workforce organizations who maintain strong union affiliations, LGBTQ organizations, support from SEIU 1199 Employment and Training Fund, and an ask from Department of Citywide Administrative Services to have an LGBTQ liaison do hiring halls for LGBTQ New Yorkers and otherwise ensure civil service is a maximally affirming work environment. DC 37 supports that ask too. And why unions? Employment specifically, LGBTQ people, especially BIPOC LGBTQ people, are disproportionately impacted by unemployment and incomes below 200% of the poverty line. I worked at the city over the last few years to create the Unity Works Workforce program, but much of the work around LGBTQ workforce does not focus adequately on adults. And given the poverty rates and unemployment faced by LGBTQ adults, it's clear that we need high road employment of the sort that we get from our union siblings. I'm happy to answer any further questions and ask you, Chair, and your council colleagues to support the Pride at Work initiative with initial funding in FY23 of $600,000 to $700,000. We will specify that, I swear. Thank you for your time and consideration, and thank you again to everyone putting this together.
Thank you for your testimony. We will now be calling on She Green, followed by Kate Krug, and then Ryan Cagle. She?
Starting time.
We will move on with other witnesses and circle back to allow anyone we've missed to testify. We will now be calling Kate Krug, followed by Ryan Cagle, and then Rebecca. Kate?
Starting time.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Chair Medin, Speaker, Council members, and staff who put this hearing together. My name is Kate Krug, and I'm the Executive Vice President of Non-Traditional Employment for Women, also known as NEW. I'd like to begin by thanking you all for your continued and transformative support over the past several years. Today, I'm here to represent NEW as a member of the Pride at Work initiative. We seek the creation of a new initiative to support LGBTQ+ New Yorkers getting into union careers. We call this Pride at Work initiative, and we seek between $600,000 and $700,000 for this work. As many of you know, NEW enrolls, trains, and places low-income women, transgender, and non-binary individuals into the skilled construction trades, programming that transforms the lives of women across New York City. These careers offer financial security with starting wages of $19 per hour, health benefits, access to a 401k, pension, and annuity through unions, opening doors to stability and resources for women and their families, and providing a pathway to the middle class. The Bureau of Labor Statistics finds that unionized women make on average 23% more than women without a union. As part of the Pride at Work initiative, NEW would leverage its experience in outreach, recruitment, enrollment, and engagement to work with LGBTQ+ individuals. NEW has broad and deep experience in engaging individuals of a range of challenges and is committed to taking an individualized approach to understanding their needs, identifying needed resources, developing a plan for success, and empowering their decision-making. As part of this initiative, NEW will leverage our relationship with our employer partners and our 44 years of vital work preparing low-income women for high-paying careers in the skilled trades towards enhancing access to such careers among LGBTQ+ communities. We ask that this be prioritized by the Committee on Small Business, the Speaker, Finance Chair, and Budget Negotiating Team. I just want to thank you today for your consideration and time.
Thank you, Kate. Next, we will be calling on Ryan Cagle to testify, followed by Rebecca, and then Nancy Katz. Ryan?
Thank you so much. My name is Ryan Cagle, and I'm here representing the Business Outreach Center Network, known as BAC Network or just BAC, and our Executive Director, Nancy Karen. BAC Network, together with its CDFI lending affiliate, BAC Capital Corp., pursue an economic justice mission. I'm here today to ask the Council to sustain its support for SBS and its longstanding community partners. BAC Network, with offices and community partners in all 5 boroughs, helps deliver small businesses start, expand, and gain market opportunities, and more recently, to survive and recover. Bach Capital is a well-known as a contract financing lender with NYC and recently stepped up as an SBA PPP lender. During the pandemic, Bach Network staff joined Bach Capital to provide over $33 million in 1,452 SBA PPP loans. Bach Capital also launched an Entrepreneurs of Color COVID-19 Relief Fund to support underserved businesses. Bach is a resource for small businesses at every stage of development. With a staff that includes speakers of over 10 languages, Bach collaborates with NYC SBS in multiple roles, including as an industrial business service provider, serving Queens Central and Brooklyn East service areas, which includes 6 of the city's 21 industrial business zones. Our decades-long history of serving NYC-based immigrant and minority-owned businesses became a critical line of support during the COVID-19 pandemic. Bach joined forces with coalitions including Bronx Business Organization Coalition, Industrial Jobs Coalition, Manufacturing and Innovation Council, known as MAKE, and others, including partners working to support employee ownership to expand our impact, network of resources, and knowledge sharing practices. Bach's collaboration with SBS proved to be a critical component of this work, and we ask the Council to sustain its support for SBS and its longstanding community partners. As we move towards economic recovery, we must support the network of industrial business service providers and organizations like Bach that can additionally leverage federal and state small business development and recovery funding. Together, our support for immigrant, minority, and women-owned businesses will preserve communities and change lives. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ryan. Next, we'll be calling on Rebecca, followed by Marcia Sue Tratner, and then Nancy Katz. Rebecca?
Hello, my name is Rebecca Livingston. I'm an owner of Rebecca Rich Brown Beauty located in Midtown Manhattan. I've been in business in New York City for 6 years prior to the pandemic, and then 7.5 total. And I specialize in personal grooming and skincare services for professional women. I initially started the business in Portland, Oregon in 2003, but I decided to take on my big city dreams and move to New York. I've always had a love for helping others, and once I found a skill that I also loved, at 19 years old, I got the proper training. My entrepreneur parents helped me to start my business at 22, and I've never looked back. So 19 years later, I still love what I do. And so the economic shutdown in March of 2020 was really difficult mentally as well as financially. As a single income household, I paid my rent for as long as I could, but eventually the money ran out. I came to find help from nonprofit Brooklyn Legal Services Corporation A from an email about the commercial lease assistance program. And I was really skeptical at first, but I'm really glad that I inquired with them. I was assigned Brooklyn A attorney Bill Angelos, and he helped me tremendously. He negotiated with my landlord and came up with a fair deal for both them and myself. And he used the grant funds to negotiate my arrears and reduce my rent. And that was a huge lifesaver for me as a small business owner. He also helped to save on my monthly lease and staggered the yearly increase so that I could pay less longer with a termination option in case the business climate doesn't improve. Without the commercial lease assistance program, I would have been in debt to private attorneys and more in debt to my landlords. Bill also relayed how this type of negotiation works, understanding my past and renegotiated contract better, and helping to improve the dynamic between my landlords and myself, which is really, really important to me. CLA is really critical as a small business and important to the vitality of New York City and afar, especially in an economic downturn. So please keep supporting the Brooklyn A and CLA to make this permanent because of what this is doing to help small business owners get back onto their feet despite the enormous challenges we're experiencing. Thank you for the opportunity to be here and testify today.
Thank you, Rebecca. Next, we'll be hearing from Marcia Sue Tratner. Then we'd like to call Nancy Katz, followed by Chiboeze Amakwe. Marcia?
Starting time.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. So I am Marcia Tratner. I have a small business in Red Hook, Brooklyn called She Weld. And we do, among other things, workshops. We have hundreds of people a year taking workshops in metalworking and welding. However, of course, during the pandemic, we had to shut down. And I had a landlord who, although he said he'd work with me, would not, and got more and more aggressive about trying to get back rent for the time I couldn't make money for the rent. And it was only because of Brooklyn A and the lease assistance program that I was able to basically stay in my space. They were able to tell the landlord that they had to stop harassing me. They were able to secure a grant, the SRG grant. So he had some money in his pocket and able to negotiate $10,000 off the back rent as well as a payment plan. And if it wasn't for them, there's no way that I could have stayed in my space as well as, just negotiate it all with my landlord. So please keep their funding, and it's really important. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. We'd next like to call Nancy Cass to testify, followed by Chiboise Amakwe, and then Billy De La Rosa. Nancy?
Hi. Okay. I'll be quick, I hope. My name is Nancy Cass. I am the director of Seeds in the Middle. We're actually a not-for-profit working largely in Central Brooklyn, Crown Heights, and Brownsville and Flatbush. I am calling on behalf of one of our proposals, which is for a group of Brownsville moms to be able to open a healthy cafe and market. Despite many years of hearing about the support of small businesses and minority-owned neighborhoods, or what I mean minority-owned businesses, we've been working 11 years in Brownsville, and I've seen little investment in any sort of farm stands or sustainable businesses around food insecurity. It's very difficult to get a green card permit. There's no refrigeration hub that's been promised multiple times. These people deserve the same right to fresh fruits and vegetables as anyone else, and they deserve the right to create their own businesses to do that. So I am calling upon you to please consider, it's outside the normal realm of what your proposals are, but it's called the Brownsville Moms Healthy Cafe and Farm Stand, and it would be run by local Brownsville women from the Brownsville houses, and they would be creating probably the only access they have to affordable fresh produce in that area. I also ask you to review the Green Card Initiative. I don't know why there's a waiting list and why it's so hard to get green card permits in these neighborhoods, but it's really kind of criminal. And also we do school-run farm stands, and we would appreciate if those are supported as well. Thank you very much. I don't know, am I still talking or somebody come in?
Thank you, Nancy. We'll move on to the next witness. Thank you so much.
And then the last thing, if I have 1 second, we do something amazing called the Taste of Brooklyn events, which are food and drink crawls that we feature restaurants in local neighborhoods for people to come and try the food and drink for a day. And I just want to do a shout out for that. Our first one is Taste of Bed-Stuy on April 30th. It's a great way to support small businesses.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you. Next, we'd like to call Chiboise Amakwe, followed by Billy De La Rosa, and then Mirheli Sid. Chiboise?
Starting time.
Hi, good afternoon. I am here to read the testimony of client Chiboise Amakwe, business owner of Sons of Daniel, a restaurant located in Brooklyn that has been operating for 16 years. Brooklyn Legal Services Corporation A is perhaps the reason why I'm still in business today. With their pro bono representation through the Commercial Lease Assistance Program, I was able to alleviate the stress my business was facing due to the COVID pandemic closures. My personal negotiations with the landlord were almost hitting a brick wall until I got Brooklyn A's attorney Scott Bamberger involved. Scott was able to assure my landlord that he was not signing away his rights. Prior to my contact with Brooklyn A, I had been applying for any loans and/or grants designed to help small business navigate the difficulties associated with COVID-19 pandemic closures. I was not successful in securing any grants and loans until Brooklyn A stepped in. In the last couple of months, I've been seeing all the empty restaurant spaces that are now popping up as available for rent all around the city. I know exactly why those spaces are empty, and I could have easily been one of them. I want to extend my sincere appreciation to Brooklyn Legal Services Corporation A and Scott Bamberger for helping me navigate through the difficult, muddy waters of the challenges I face as a small business owner, and for advocating for me in my negotiations with the landlord. My business is not totally out of the woods, but we're not staring from hopelessness. We have secured a new lease and reduced more than 60% of utilities that we owed during the pandemic. Thanks to Brooklyn A and commercial lease assistance, there is a light at the end of the tunnel for us. This service should be permanently available to all small business owners. Thank you.
Thank you. And if you could briefly give us your name as well for the record.
Yes, Lara Vaselli. I am the intake associate.
Thank you so much for your testimony.
Thank you.
Next, we'd like to call Billy De La Rosa, followed by Mirheli Sid, and then Catherine Merchek. Billy?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Bill Angelos. I'm a staff attorney at Brooklyn Legal Services Corporation. I'm here to read the testimony of client Billy De La Rosa, business owner of BOD Fitness located in Manhattan. Through my Brooklyn Legal Services Corporation A attorney, I was able to put my trust in them to help me guide me through lease negotiation and make sure our 2 locations did not shut down for good. Brooklyn A and commercial lease assistance is lifesaver for small businesses like my own. Without commercial lease assistance, which provides free attorneys to small businesses like me, who have no one else to assist because legal fees are unaffordable. Before I came to Brooklyn A's commercial lease assistance program, I spent thousands in legal fees to try and get the landlord to come to the table, but could not continue paying the private attorneys. It was too expensive. Please support this critical program because that is how you support small businesses like mine. The issues my business faced were: 1, accumulation of too much back rent, over $350,000 due to COVID-19 closures and restrictions, which Brooklyn A was able to help me get waived. 2, lack of money to pay for legal assistance. And lastly, lack of guidance on how to maneuver negotiating a lease with landlords. I am a business owner, not an attorney. Brooklyn A's commercial lease assistance program saved my business, and this should be a permanent support for business owners. Thank you for hearing my testimony today.
Thank you. Next, we'd like to call Mirheli Sid, followed by Catherine Merchek, and then Trina Dunstan. Mirheli?
Good afternoon. I am here to read the testimony of client Mirheli Sid, business owner of MJ Design and Imprints located in the Bronx. The following is Ms. Sid's testimony. We have been open for business since December 2020. We specialize in custom designs, imprints, embroidery, and graphic designs. I started this business with the hope of becoming a successful woman entrepreneur by not only empowering myself and others, but to also create employment opportunities to other people within my community. As a creative entrepreneur, my work and services are centered in helping other businesses, organizations, and companies to grow and provide them with materials and services to boost their images and sales. Unfortunately, I have a landlord that has been harassing me with rent payments right from when I started operations in the first 1 month, and sometimes a couple of days before the month even ends. Him and his son would start harassing in front of my customers in the middle of service without considering the effects they were having on my business. My landlord's constant harassment and disrespect ended up forcing me out of business for months now. He locked me out of my store with all my business equipment and customers' belongings in it. He ended up moving all of my equipment out of the store without my consent and is denying having them in his possession. Brooklyn A's commercial lease assistance program has been working with me and is helping me with this process of getting the situation resolved. Through my Brooklyn A attorney, Bill and Matt, I have been in the process of getting the help that I need. They have been keeping constant communication with me and walking me through this important process so that I can finally resolve the issue with my landlord. The commercial lease assistance program is a lifesaver for small businesses like my own, and I am so thankful for receiving this help from them. Before coming to Brooklyn A's commercial lease assistance program, I'd contacted lots of lawyers and feared having to pay lots of dollars in legal fees. This is a program that should continue to get support. By supporting them, you'll be supporting small businesses like mine and truly in need of these services. Brooklyn A's commercial lease assistance program has definitely helped me with important information I didn't previously know about my process. And thank you for hearing my testimony today. Mirheli Sid.
Thank you. And your name for the record as well?
Ashna Singh. I'm the program coordinator here at Brooklyn A.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Next, we'll be calling on Catherine Merchek, followed by Trina Dunstan. Catherine?
Starting time.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to testify. My name is Catherine Mersick, and I'm a worker owner at Samam Kaya Yoga Back Care and Scoliosis Collective, and a member of the New York City Network of Worker Co-ops, which is a partner org in the Worker Co-op Business Development Initiative. You've already heard from some of my friends about how your support of our community of democratically run businesses helps to protect and create jobs for women, immigrant workers, and communities of color across the 5 boroughs and in a wide array of industries. I'm testifying today to urge you to help NYC with a just recovery by continuing to support the great work of WCBDI by enhancing their funding to $5.01 million, and to please also introduce and pass commercial rent stabilization for small businesses across the city. My co-op, Samam Kaya, is a beautiful little studio in Chelsea, specializing in the therapeutic applications of yoga and with the mission of making yoga accessible to all bodies. My 19 other worker owners and I have been democratically running the studio together in the same space for the last 7 years, for which we had to borrow a lot of money to build out for our very specific needs with yoga rope walls and all kinds of props. And we're so grateful that we were able to weather the storm through the pandemic and held on to our physical space due to a variety of factors. Although we weren't eligible for financial relief from the city, we did access PPP loans and were one of the few lucky small businesses I know of who were able to negotiate our rent. However, the fact that we are co-op had a major impact on our resilience through the crisis. When we had to shut our doors almost exactly 2 years ago, we quickly banded together, we pivoted, we decided together how to adjust our pay and fee structures, and we divided the labor of researching teaching platforms online and support resources that might exist. We discussed together how to keep the studio afloat while still allowing for those teachers who most needed the work to teach online classes and make ends meet. Furthermore, as members of the co-op community, we had access to certain small grants specific to worker co-ops. One of these was NCNOC's Cooperative Sustainability Fund that awarded us enough funds to pay for 10 sessions with a consultant from another co-op. And these sessions have helped us enormously to deal with different communication and distribution of labor challenges that we were facing through the difficult transition to working mostly online. I'm very happy to say we were able to reopen our physical space and have both in-person and virtual classes online now. And but also the majority of co-ops in New York City have never been able to access brick and mortar spaces because rents are so high. And this was an issue before the pandemic. And commercial rents can legally be raised any amount. So please consider that and please enhance WCBDI's funding. Thank you for hearing my testimony.
Thank you, Catherine. Finally, we'd like to call Trina Dunstan to testify. Trina?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Trina Dunstan. I worked with Miss Nancy Cass. I am a mother in Brownsville. I'm asking for the council to please fund the healthy cafe that me and one of the mothers in Brownsville are trying to get. We are also trying to get a health and wellness store in place where we will have somebody who does health classes, mental health classes. Also, healthy products will be made, soap, shea butter, body washes, and stuff like that. In addition to that, we are trying to get up our cafe. Like I said, I'm a mother in Brownsville. I have been on the news. I have spoken with Lisa Evers about trying to get healthy food. I also did a food walk with Miss Nancy Cass, citing that healthy food is a right to everybody, and I'm just trying to get a healthy food market in the local Brownsville area because we have no healthy markets out here whatsoever. We're surrounded by fast food, other markets that they don't sell no healthy fruits and vegetables, and I'm trying to prevent children from having childhood obesity as well as the parents. Thank you for hearing my testimony.
Thank you, Trina. I see Councilmember Mealy has her hand raised to ask a question.
Hi, I'm just glad that she's said that she would want to do that. That is my district. She could come to my district office, 400 Rockaway and Picken Avenue. Please, I would love to support you and see that Brownsville be healthy all the way through. So I hope she could come to my office and I can help her in that and see how the city can maybe have a brick and mortar store with fresh foods also that she can sponsor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. That concludes our public testimony. As a reminder, if you would like to submit written testimony for the record, you may do so by emailing your testimony up to 72 hours after the hearing to testimony@council.nyc.gov. If there are any witnesses who would like to testify today who have not yet been called upon to speak, please raise your hand now using the Zoom raise hand function. I see Merheli's Sid's hand is raised. Do we have another testimony beyond the one that was already delivered?
Yes, can I testify on behalf of our director? I think they're trying to join, but.
Sure, go ahead.
All right, thank you.
Start the 2-minute timer, sure.
All right, I'm testifying on behalf of the director of the CED program here at Brooklyn A, Alham Usman. I am the director of the Community Economic Development Program, and I have the honor of also heading the Commercial Lease Assistance Program, which is funded by NYSE SBS. Brooklyn A is a nonprofit law firm and has served small businesses and nonprofits for over 50 years. Today, you will have heard, and you already heard, the testimony of small business owners we've represented, our CLA attorneys, and the members of the United for Small Business Coalition, which Brooklyn A is a proud member of. I wanted to draw your attention to some few facts. First, the 5-year CLA partnership between SBS and Brooklyn A is a unique and innovative approach to supporting small businesses. There is no other program like it in the nation. It is also important that SBS acknowledge Brooklyn Legal Services Corporation A, both in recognition of successful partnership and resolve the confusion that small businesses owners face when seeking CLA services. Because in the last 6 months alone, since July 2021 and January 2022, we have obtained over $6.7 million worth of relief. We have saved over $2 million in legal fees for small businesses. The 12-month budget for CLA is $5 million. Second, CLA is literally the only meaningful support for NYC small businesses owners who are struggling. The commercial lease agreement is the single most important contract of a brick and mortar small business. It is also an agreement that has been perfected for over 500 years in favor of landlords. Without CLA, small business owners do not stand a chance. Third, the fiscal year, we have represented New York City small business owners in over 1,000 cases. These are small business owners from every single borough. 214 cases in the Bronx, 313 cases in Brooklyn, 380 cases in Manhattan, 220 cases in Queens, and 58 cases in Staten Island. We have business owners from other states outside 5 boroughs reaching out to us and asking, is this program available in my state? And of course, we have to tell them that it's not. You and I have to make sure it remains that New York City small businesses and it evolves to the need of our non-for-profit small businesses, including litigation support. Thank you for your continued support of Brooklyn A and the Commercial Lease Assistance.
Time expired.
Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further hands raised, I will now turn it to Chair Menon to close out the hearing. Chair?
Thank you so much. What an incredible turnout today. I really want to thank every member of the public for your wonderful and compelling testimony. It's so helpful to us and the council to hear from all of you, to hear about the experiences that you all as small businesses or as attorneys who are representing small businesses or advocates representing small businesses are making. And we take all of this testimony very seriously and take it into account as we are advocating for increased funding for SBS and increased services. So with that, I want to thank all of you for being here and for joining us today, and I'm going to close the hearing.